Jeff, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Steve.
We are talking about a doom loop. We've talked a little bit about this with some cities like the potential of San Francisco, the potential of Minneapolis. Today we're talking about Boston being in the news, and that's because a report came out from Jongs Lang LaSalle JLL, pointing out that Boston has, since 2023, the biggest ever 1 year increase in new office space availability. Vacancy rates are more than 20%. And we've also got the Boston Policy Institute and Center for State Policy Analysis, CSPA at Tufts, warning about the dangers of an urban doom loop for Boston. And essentially, that's where you lose so much of your tax revenue from this loss in tenancy, this loss in buildings, that you've got to cut city services, and the resulting cut in city services and quality of life spurs more people living in the area and stuff like that. And I think, the worry there is that you just see this drive into the suburbs, this drive into other states, this drive into other places, and this drive away from downtown Boston. So, some of your thoughts in terms of what Boston's grappling with here.
I think in a lot of ways, I think of this as, it's kind of the northeastern plague. You've got a lot of vacancy mixed in with bad weather, and nobody wants to be in bad weather, and also in a miserable city. And then you've got the other side where you've got the government who's you've got to have a tax base to support their services, and maybe their services are just too much, and they don't know where to cut them back. So I don't know. There's a lot that goes into this, but somebody's going to have to get really creative in trying to reuse that space, either as office, shared workspace, converting it to residential in some way. I don't know. I don't have the answers for Boston, but I know they need to get creative.
Yeah, and I tend to also kind of agree with you where you're pointing to a location. The lazy thing to do is just say remote work's destroyed office. And that's what this has been. And absolutely, remote work, which isn't really remote work, it's, when you look at the numbers, is more hybrid work, has had an impact, but it's had a much bigger impact on some places than other places. And that's where you get to all the things you're talking about: is quality of life, public policy. Um, the old joke in real estate, the three most important things are location, location, location. Right now, downtown Boston is not a great location. And I think for a real estate investor, it just more kind of should make the point, not try to figure out trends that, nobody necessarily sees coming in the way they do, like remote work. Try to figure out the stuff you can. Like, yeah, you've got in the Northeast some negative demographic drivers. You've got not the best weather. And the technology trend you could see was we are moving to the direction of people being able to work from different places. And are Northeast cities necessarily going to be the places those people choose to work from? Well, I think you could have figured out well before COVID, well before everybody's talking about remote work, that maybe the Sun Belt's a little bit more attractive. Maybe there's some more attractive government policies. Maybe it's more attractive weather. You could take a look at the demographics and say, hey, millennials are moving more towards family formation. The suburbs start getting more attractive than the big city. Maybe we should also be looking at more suburbs. So to me, yeah, you can point out remote work, but as an investor, there are lots of things you could see coming that were driving you to look at places other than downtown Boston, as the place to
Yeah,
invest in.
it just dawned on me as well as we keep having this discussion about remote work and how remote work is quote unquote ruined office. And I think that, in my mind, as I think through some of this, it's going to be somewhat cyclical because you already have big employers that are saying, you get your asses back to the office, because they don't want to actually have to put or provide the financial support for the infrastructure that the people who are working at home are working, need to do their jobs, and they're gaining that inefficiency. I think to a large degree, some of this will change, but I still think that it's something where people are going to have to get creative and reinvent the space so that it makes sense for now, makes sense for the future. Maybe that's more of live work. Maybe that's more of getting creative with what the sizing of the office looks like. There's a lot of different things. I think the point is, you may not have tenants that are looking for 3 or 4 floors of occupancy. I think it just, people got to get creative and reinvent how they're looking at space. I think the other side is that becomes costly for the investor too, because now you've got to reinvent your space and figure out how to make it work, so that you're not just letting a property wither away.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And we have talked about the move to more mixed use, that people and businesses want to be located in areas where you can shop, where you can dine, where you can work, not just a area that's all office, mostly work, office workers just crammed together. That those types of downtowns are really oftentimes struggling, and the downtown areas that really have multiple things going on have more of a quality of life where you can do different activities that maybe have a little more charm to them or flavor, or even if it's in the suburbs where they've kind of taken that and had it might just be a building itself that has some retail mixed in, or maybe has some residential in the mix, as well as it's got some office and work. But that's another trend here too. And those downtown areas that are just almost are predominantly focused just on office spaces are having some
Mhm.
challenges too.
Yep.
Okay, well, appreciate the insights. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't, and visit our website, selectfincap.com, and register to get on a list to look at exclusive real estate investment opportunities. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Steve.